I think we're going. All right. Well, listeners, I have a special treat for you this evening, or whenever you're listening to the podcast, or Zoomcast, I guess it's called. But it's 5 o'clock our time. I think it's like 7 o'clock in the morning Bob's time. Is that correct, Bob?
That's correct, Preston.
We have Bob Sternberg on the line or on the set here from Australia. How you doing this afternoon or this morning, Bob? How you doing?
Well, g'day, mate. How are you?
It's Crocodile Dundee. I know you've never heard this before.
Yeah, no, we're doing fine.
I just want you to hear, please don't get mad at me, but I want you to say this one time. That's not a knife, mate. This is a knife.
Well, that's not a knife, mate. That's a knife.
I know you probably never heard that before, right? And I have a returning guest here on the line, and it's 4 o'clock his time. Mr. Pat Butler, how you doing, Pat?
Preston, every day is Christmas. How you do today, sir?
I am good. So we'll start off with a couple of questions. You know, the listeners are primarily home inspectors, although it's open to everybody, but that's primarily our audience. And so what I'll do is start off with some introductory questions, get to know everybody a little bit. And I know, Pat, you've been on the show before, but you know what? The listeners may be listening for the first time. So, I hate for you to go through your thing again, but I'm going to ask, and you can use your disclaimer again. But Bob, let's start with you. Bob, so tell us a little bit about you. We'd like to get to know you personally, and then obviously we're going to get into some of the stuff you do and what you offer. But tell us a little bit about you personally, and we'll start from there.
Not a problem, Preston. I just want to say I'm very humbled to be able to be invited in with this elite group. I'm a home inspector in Brisbane, Australia, Queensland. Started the trade off at our ripe old age of 17 and 16. Carpenter, worked through to the builder area, studied at night and became a forensic investigator for our Building Services Authority for many years. Lectured for about 9 in advanced courses, and have been in every facet of the building game, but predominantly I'm a day-to-day inspector in private enterprise like everyone else.
Awesome.
Very passionate about the industry and stay connected with America, because I think we follow America eventually, and Canada, and it's just a learning curve for me to participate in the Facebook and the social media, and I'm also as everyone would probably appreciate, an app developer and a platform specialist for a tool built by the inspector for the inspector. So I use it day to day, and then discovered, well, it's probably something someone else in the same field could use someday. So I've been able to use technology to be able to release that.
Awesome.
So I'm very passionate. Yeah.
I'm going to go to Pat in just a second, but before we do that, and we're going to get into your system, obviously, because I want to know more about it, and I'm sure the listeners and viewers do as well. When did you start, and I don't want to get too far down that road until we get there, but when did you start working on your platform? Obviously, you saw a need there. And I know it's evolved over time, but when did you start?
I started my template system of reporting in 1996 when Windows came out.
Okay.
And I trademarked Homeworthy at that stage, like a roadworthy for your home. That's what I've always said.
Awesome.
I trademarked that. And it's just been an evolution since then.
Right.
As we need and grow. Predominantly in day-to-day, we do something different to what I've been able to find out all around the world, is what we call private building certification.
Okay.
That's for the last 20 years. We've performed the privatized building code, a building permit process, and it works pretty good.
Awesome.
So that's fairly complicated. So we're
going to dive into it.
Develop systems for it, you know.
We're going to dive into it. And for all the listeners out there, Bob's got something that can diversify your business, but we'll get into it. Well, Pat, and Pat's repeat offender on the show. I forget which episode. I can go back and look it up. But some people.
121.
What was it?
121, I think it is.
Awesome. Well, but some people may have not listened to that, listened to it for the first time. So, Pat, tell us about you and tell us a little bit about you personally and, how you got to be a home inspector.
Okay. Well, first of all, for those who have not listened to the podcast, we talked about my disclaimer. Well, basically, if you've ever been a fan of National Public Radio and heard the term car talk, Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers, I did a little spiel, just kind of break the ice and talked about that anything that I say, please do not take offense that I have no sense. I don't claim that I do, nor that I even pretend that I know what I'm talking about. So that's what these gentlemen are talking about, and that's kind of my spiel. I honestly stand on the shoulder of giants, and once again, guys like Preston and Bob and Dave and so many people in the industry, I stand on the shoulders of giants. For those who don't know, I'm a retired guy out of the Army. Once I got out of the Army, I still like to help people. I still like to help soldiers. And in my area, close to Fort Riley, Kansas, that's where I am. Yes, Toto is around here somewhere. But anyway. So anyways, I saw a lot of first-time home buyers who were service members who were still on the beginning ends of home ownership. So I figured that was a good transition for myself, that I could still help military families, still help young soldiers introduce themselves into buying a home and owning a home and maintaining its value so that they can, sell it down the road if they ever have to leave, or if they're retiring, how to maintain its value. So it was just kind of like a transition. I still do the same job, but as a retiree, I just kind of work for myself as a home inspection company. Now, with that being said, I must say this. You're going to hear a lot of information going on, and I'm going to tell you right now in the front, so people listen to the camera right now. This guy on my left, Bob right here, is one of the most technical geniuses that you're ever going to listen to. If you do not listen to what's going on right now, you are truly going to miss something. Every time I talk to him regularly. And when I do, I walk away with a headache out of all the knowledge that I just gained from just the aspects of home inspection and building consultants on a global scale and what's happening. So I'm going to tell you right now, for however long we do this podcast, I highly encourage that you grab yourself something to drink, listen, record it, because you're about to learn something truly incredible. With that said, I'm done. So.
Awesome. Well, we're going to dive into some of the way Bob can. I think he's developed some things here that can help anybody with their business. And then we'll get into some other back to some other home inspection questions, because you guys are obviously very familiar with the business. But Bob, and he can I'll lead it off. He can correct anything if I'm wrong. I know he has a software. Home inspection software called HomeWorthy, but even more than that, he has a whole system, I think, called DOME, which is an acronym, and I'll let him explain that. But first, let's start off with, so honestly, what makes HomeWorthy and DOME so special, Bob?
Well, it's a tool. Essentially, it's a tool for the inspector, built by the inspector. And I'll explain. It's the engine behind it. The reporting app is DOME. That's Document Office Management Environment.
Okay.
It's a shroud, if you like. It's a shroud over your property file. We deal with a lot of documents. We deal with a lot of records, permits. The history of the property is needed in one sweet little spot for what I call the building consultant or the home inspector. I deal with a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation. You need the facility to do fillable forms, PDFs, merge documents, do all those other features, and it's growing from there. But essentially, anyone can use the DOME property file. And by value adding your home inspector's business, you're using all those other services that you can do and increase your diversification day to day. Right. So I like to, for the last 30 years, I've been practicing and encouraging cadets and other peers, diversify your industry, and then you take that risk away from one particular focused area that you're specialising in. If you can do the whole job, you have a special set of skills, I believe. As a home inspector, you've got the observation powers, you've got the history of how buildings are built. You've got that tremendous resource to be client focused and assist your clients. And when I say clients, not just buyers or sellers. My clients predominantly are real estate agents, property managers, builders, building contractors. So that's been my model of business, is helping those clients. And the Dome allows all those clients, real estate agents, property managers, the builders, to all have their own property file for that property. We don't care who owns that property, but we're storing a Google verified property, all the warranties, the paperwork you get for the owner when they build, plans, store reports, so you can follow up all those things as a consultant for the property owner. And those property owners will change over time, but we're doing the life cycle of from construction right through to maintenance. And that's the exciting part, is I like to see business owners look at options. Don't just focus yourself on the point of sale, or you've got a special set of skills in that area, and you can give your full round support and expertise to your owners. That's essentially what it does.
Yeah, no, I before I get to my next question, I got a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I wholeheartedly agree. We need to diversify. So many of us are so heavily dependent on buyers' inspections. That's probably 95% of my business. It's probably 90% reliant on real estate agents. So what that means and what the weakness is, if anything happens to that or it's disrupted, my business is in trouble. And I would dare say there's probably a lot of my home inspector friends that are in the same boat. You know, when I first started out, I did pest control and home inspection. And I kind of let the pest control fall off because I was making more money doing home inspection. But now, you know, and we could get in, that'd be a whole other podcast of some disruption. I see happening some things. I mean, you know, you don't have to look too far to see how technology is disrupting a lot of businesses. And I think now is a good time to diversify. And I'll have to admit, Bob, the first time I talked to you, I had a hard time wrapping my mind around your program. I mean, I get it. And in the meantime, I got an email, I shared it with you, from a real estate agent. And said, Preston, you know, there's this home inspection company in Texas that helps property owners keep maintenance inspections and filters and all this stuff on their thing. Do you do anything like that? Or does anybody know anything like that? And immediately I thought of Bob, and I was like, you know, I think what he's talking about makes sense. I'm starting to wrap my mind around it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously what you're talking about is expanding our skills into other areas that we can add value and get paid for.
Exactly, Preston. I use this analogy is a lot of real estate agents and property managers have probably 500-600 properties on their rental roll.
Right.
And it's the young, inexperienced administration staff that usually do the entry and exit reports with tenants.
Right.
You for the absentee investor or the homeowner that's renting out a commercial property or residential, they need someone skilled to go through periodically and have a look at what's coming up in maintenance, that you can help them with their depreciation tax schedules. Any sort of item that you with your skill set, you can foresee what's going to come along. You may as well fix it now because it's going to cost you more in time. So I work very closely with the real estate agents and property managers. And by having that relationship and all working through the process, we developed from there with dual signature ability on the reports, for instance, so that you're locking people in. Anything you do in the property game, it's always two signatures.
Right.
There's always two parties to an agreement, whether it's a lease agreement or a contract or a repair quote. You need those two signatures. So we can do that. And to pick up on your point, it was obvious to me in my business to stay competitive and efficient, I needed to adapt. I'm an old chippy, and I had to adapt with the technology. And it's fantastic, the technology that's out there as a tool to help us inspectors.
Yeah.
We all do things well. We're all passionate about what we do. And I see the central thing is we're all trying to help the client. That's part of our business. That's our backbone. And if we can help the client, that's where we should look and diversify. Always keep your options open. That's what I say.
Yeah, exactly. If I could just step in real quick,
Sure.
So I can just kind of throw my 2 cents in. Because Preston, I know you said we could kind of go over about the disruptor that's happening in our industry right now. But I would think that we would be remiss if we didn't kind of let people know why diversifying now is so important. Because, there's so much things that are happening. If you're not following, I know a lot of folks that know us see us on Facebook and they hear us talking about what this company's doing or that company's doing. If you are dealing with 80 or 90 or, saying some folks even 100% dealing with agent referrals, as far as incoming inspections, you're about to hit a major pitfall. And this is what's happening. And I'll just try to, summarize this real quickly. The real estate agent is about to have a major shift because now there's a lot of third-party entities that are trying to compete with the real estate agent on the ground where they're at for their business. So if you've been on YouTube or Facebook or any other social media, or if you've seen on TV, you're starting to see these ads like from these entities, and we'll just give a couple like Knock and Open Door that are actually offering clients to purchase their homes without dealing with a real estate agent. And they're starting to become more popular because a lot of people see the pitfalls of trying to have the house open and clean for open houses or dealing with it. And it's, for some folks, it's a competitive reason of why just to go ahead and put their house up on a sale by these third parties and not necessarily with the traditional real estate agent. Right. And if you are an inspector and this is your main bread and butter, your business is going to get disrupted as well. So we really need to understand what is happening on the macrocosm level of as far as real estate transactions. And the old model is about to die. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's going to die because it's not going to be the same. There's new players in the market. And what we're talking about is how to diversify your home inspection business so that you can last over the course of years, so that you can navigate these waters. Because if you're not prepared, you are going to have a significant hit in your wallet, in your bottom line, because the real estate agent, if they're not doing anything, they're not going to be as a viable revenue source as they have been in the past. So what we're talking about now is very serious. If you don't, there's a lot of home inspectors out there saying that, they don't deal with real estate agents or they don't follow along real estate agents. But if we don't pay attention and deal with these entities now and how to navigate, not only as individual business owners, but as a community and I guess a profession as a whole, we are going to lose our own relativity in our own market space. And that's going to just bring down the value of the home inspection as a whole. So that's where I think if you're a new business owner, if you're a new home inspector, you really need to pay attention to what's going on, because this is going to be talking directly to you. So
all right, I want to add to what Pat's saying and add some validity to it as well. I know some people are going to watch this and hear this and say, "Oh, those guys are just fear mongering," blah 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 blah. Well, I want to add a little bit to it. I've been to a bunch of presentations. I've had my own real estate license since 1994, I think, or something. I've been to a zillion classes, sponsoring them. So here's the deal: real estate agents, this is the way their model has been for about 100 years. They had the list. They had the list. You had to pay them to be on the list. You had to pay them to see the list. They don't have the list anymore. The list was the MLS. It's public knowledge now. And let me ask you something. If you own $1 million house, do you really feel like you need to pay somebody $60,000 to sell your $1 million house this day and age? With all the technology, you can put it online. I mean, I love real estate agents. This is not meant to be against real estate. I'm just, like Pat said, I'm just being real here. If you personally, anybody listen to this, if you owned $1 million house, do you really feel like you need to pay somebody $60,000 to sell your $1 million house? I mean, really? All right. And then the second part of what you're saying is I want to add to this. I know, when I talk to home inspectors, oh, yeah, I go straight to the public. I got a great website. I got great SEO, all that stuff. Hey, that's fine and that's great. But let me challenge you to do something. I challenge you to put in your city right now in home inspector, or your city in plumber, whatever your city is. Chicago, plumber. Chicago, electrician. Chicago, home inspector. San Diego, home inspector. Whatever. Des Moines, home inspector. And then, where you got the ads, you've always had the ads, and then you have the maps. All right, that's well and great. Below that was the organic search. That's where we always worked to get to. If you were writing articles, doing backlinks, that was what I was always told. And man, I worked my tail off to get myself up there. Do that today, and then look down in that organic and see if you don't see Home Advisor, Angie's List coming up in the top 3. I challenge you to do that. Go to that right now and do not right now. Wait till after the.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that thing that you were just saying to me. Oh yeah, well I've got good SEO and stuff. Well, guess what? We're not paying Google. They don't care. They've made it. It's public knowledge. Google made a deal with Home Advisor. They're. I mean, you're going to be paying Home Advisor if that's what you're depending on. So it seems to me like this is what's coming. The way we've been doing business is going out. And then these technology companies are going to come in, and if they're giving a ton of inspections, and that's great at first, but now they can dictate the price. They can dictate everything.
Exactly, Preston. With technology, as you're saying, there's always going to be this latest trend to have a third party between you and the client, and that's what I work against. It's the home inspector and his client, whether it be all those other industries, and it's important to try and control your own business.
Right.
Otherwise we've lost the edge. There's always going to be, with the technology, a third party trying to take something out of the transaction or use that information somewhere to bite into your things. That's why I looked at security of just fostering that networking and that relationship between the two parties to the contract. That's the important thing.
Awesome. Well, that's a good transition into my next question. We talked about third parties, technology, and then also data being very valuable. So how does HomeWorthy and Dome system keep clients' information or data safe or private? Because that seems a big concern now.
Thank you for the question, Preston. That's an excellent question. We've concentrated on allowing every user to have their own secure account. We're not interested from HomeWorthy. I've got enough work to do in my own business, but we modeled it on my business. How would I treat my clients, my little network, and how do I protect that? That's my people you see on Facebook, books of business, all that sort of thing. Keep that in the secure zone. So you've got the cloud account your own login. I can't even see what you do. It's an account that you use and you network with your people. And of course, I've got a tool, and I must say, look, I'm not that precious to say that I'm the only solver of problems. I see a lot of vendors' tools. Look, from a carpenter point of view, I'll give you this analogy. Is I've got a Metabo drill, I've got a Makita saw, I've got a DeWalt drop saw. You know, those sorts of things. You pick the right tool for the applicable part of your business. There's some great software writers out there. If that's what you're comfortable with, keep using it. I just have a different alternative with 26 templates, different things that have developed from me doing my practice. I might report differently, but the key thing is client service, satisfaction, be accurate, and report for the person you're writing the report to. Sometimes we lose sight of that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bob. You're being too modest here. Let me kind of explain what Bob did. Bob took something so simple, and he took something so complex and made it so simple, it's almost ridiculous. When we do an inspection, all of us, we always fill in the client's information, and that's usually the anchor of our inspection. We get the client's name, the phone number, the email address, points of contact, and that becomes the anchor of the system. And that's where all the data mining has becoming, because all these third parties want that information so that they can feed it to their food chain. So like Home Advisor, they want to infiltrate the home inspection industry so that they can feed those leads back to these building contractors. Preston, when we last talked, you said because we both were subscribers, or we subscribed our clients to HAN, which is the homeowners network, and had that nasty phone call because you had your clients who got called from these third parties sites about contracts that they did not even initiate, and they came back to you like, why did you sell my data? And like me, it was like, I didn't sell data. And then we realized what had happened. What Bob did was he turned around and made the property address the anchor to the inspection report. And I don't think people truly understand what that means. That means now the property is the sole is the base of the home inspection practice. It's no longer who lives in it, where they live, what's their phone number. So now that information can now be protected, and it's verified by Google of where that property is, and you build from there. So now you can protect the client's information. It can be completely removed off of any reports and any other additional data or any additional documents, and you can send that out. So now if you send out estimates or reports, or you're doing evaluations of any type of entity as an inspector that you can do, now you can protect your client's data and nobody will ever see it unless you say so. I think that is huge. That is just phenomenal. I know there's a lot of people out here. Bob Elliott, this is just for you. Now you can turn around and protect your client's information and still give them the maximum amount of customer service that the home inspection community is evolving into. There's a lot of guys out there. I love Bob. Bob is one of the guys that I call when I ask about technical information. We just saw he wanted to protect his client's information, and I was like, come on, let's get into the 21st century, and there's a little give and take. But now, right now, Bob Sternberg right here, he has created something that we don't even have to share the client's information anymore. And I think that is something that is phenomenal. And I don't think that he's given enough credit. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but
no, that's. Thank you, Pat. I just want to clarify what Pat just said. Any fillable form or report from my reporter will capture 2 copies of that document. One, a full one for your client, but the other one, well, you can set it up to redact that information of who the client is. It was particularly important for us that if we're getting repair costs done for a rental property, you can't expose the tenant's information and for privacy. And that's where it led from. The real estate agents would say, I need to get a quote on this. How I can just email your report with photos, marked up plans, all that sort of thing, because we contain all those documents under the property logbook. So someone to quote on those repairs it's very easy because we've merged those documents. I've got a set of plans. I've got, floor coverings can be measured up without interfering with the tenants. But we redact that information so that tenants are now not revealing their private information to the public. So the redacting feature works in the fillable forms and our reporting.
Awesome. I like what you guys are saying. And in lieu of, data sharing, which, 2 years ago, I didn't even know what that was, but it is obviously, I got an education really quick here in this past 8 months or so. And it's very important and very important, I think. And I like what you're saying. So tell me a little bit more. I mean, there's a lot of inspection software. There's some scheduling software out there. I mean, what, obviously the information, and I would like to know, you're not planning to sell this, I hope, and then that person takes that. I'll let you address that. I'll just throw it out there. But what makes Dome not just another inspection software and not just another scheduling software? And are we sure you're going to be safe? You're not going to sell it to somebody who will use the information. There's a whole.
No, I'm not interested in selling the platform. Thanks, Preston. I'm not interested in selling the platform to anyone. It's a tool. Right. It's just like having a drill in your tool bag. It's the inspector's tool, if you like, to help him with his client.
Hey there, this is Ryan Howell, here to kind of go through the inspectedhouses.com pre-listing program. So this presentation is meant to illustrate how the program works. If you're like me, it sounded like an awesome thing, but I just didn't know quite how it was going to work in my head. So I built out this presentation to illustrate it for myself and for you guys. So let's just kind of walk through the basics of how this works. There are some areas in this presentation where things can get creative in terms of how you can use parts of this program, but we're just going to stick to the basic workflow right now. So we're going to start with the seller. They've got a house to sell, put on the market. They're going to contact a listing agent. The listing agent is going to give them a presentation. They're going to come up with some ideas for marketing the house, for making it unique, and to help them through that listing process and get through escrow. So one of the ideas is going to be to do a pre-listing inspection, and they're going to have a home inspector come. Home inspector is going to perform their inspection. They will write the report, and that report will then get uploaded to inspectedhouses.com. It's going to live up there on inspectedhouses.com attached to the listing. So there's going to be a listing page that has a picture of the house, everything, all the features about it, and everything that's great. And it's also going to have a hosted area where they can download, where anyone can download the inspection report on it that was done as part of the pre-listing process. So the cool thing about this is that the inspector gets paid on this end. So like we're instantly increasing our bottom line by getting more of these inspections, more of the pre-listing inspections, and being a part of this program. So then the inspector goes away, he takes his money, the sign goes up with a specific code for that house and a number to text, and then when we have a potential buyer, that buyer is going to see that code, they're going to text the code to a number with their phone there, and that usually that sign's going to have like some sort of hook on it, like get a discount on your buyer's inspection or what have you. There's kind of some creative ways that you can word that and some different offers that you can come up with, but the idea is we want to entice them to text that number to get more information about the house and then to also get a discount. So they're going to then take out their money and they are going to buy that inspection report once they see the listing, and they're going to give that money to inspectedhouses.com, and that money is going straight back to the seller. They get their money. Nobody else is taking it. The cool thing that happens next, this is kind of where the magic happens, is that the listing agent may be thinking like, okay, that's cool. We have people that have a better idea about the house, but like, so what? Like, how does this actually help me in my bottom line? Well, that is where we give hot lead to that listing agent. So the potential buyer that texted that information, they opted into the program by doing that, and therefore we can give that buyer lead directly to the listing agent. Now, instead of spending thousands of dollars on Zillow leads and to be a premier agent and to play by their game and their rules, we're not charging them any money for this. So like, they just participate in the program. They pay their monthly fee, which is next to nothing compared to what they're doing in any other advertising area, and they get unlimited leads for that. So I think it's a pretty cool, unique selling point to pitch to them in a way that you can help them grow their business and allow them to get more deals. Because as you know, even if this potential buyer doesn't get this house, they may know of another house and they can turn them into a buyer that they're working with as well. And of course, if they have a team, then they can pass them off to their buyer's agents and have them do their thing. So there's a lot of different ways we can cut this. There's some areas in this where we can get more creative. Number one thing you got to do next to get involved with this program and to make sure that you're signed up to be a foundation member is to go to fm.inspectedhouses.com. There'll be a sign up form there where we've got the agreement. You can pay there and just get signed up. You're going to want to do this before all these spots get filled up, because there's only going to be about 100 nationwide. So get on board now, and we'll walk you through some of the details at that website in terms of how this can benefit you financially, not only just getting additional inspections, but getting more real estate agents involved and signed up with the program can directly benefit you financially as well through the affiliate program. So again, this is going to be super limited. There's going to be a lot of people that wish that they had done this beforehand, and I just encourage you to get this done right away, get signed up so that we can get going on it. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Take care.
So I'm not interested in that. I've got a long way to go. I'm passionate. Why would I get rid of my baby? This is what I've used for 30 years. You sort of get passionate with it. The good thing is I'm in Australia. I'm not interested in all that American sort of trend.
Right.
The important thing is, as far as I see, is that Dome allows you to be able to use any report writing. You can use mine if it doesn't matter, but if you're comfortable with anyone else, and I'll be straight out. I just love the trailblazers in this industry, and I'll give you this analogy. It's getting a little bit off track, but I'll give you this analogy. If Facebook was around, and I experienced that now, but if Facebook was around when the first vendors suggested having a pneumatic nailing gun with a compressor, the old boys would be saying, get away, it's a vendor coming into our industry. I'm happy enough to strike me finger 3 times with the S-wing hammer, it'll never take off. We've got to embrace that. There's vendors out there in the Facebook, and I don't mind saying trailblazers like Dan Huber and Chris Short. What a great scheduler and platform. There's Dominic with Home Inspector Pro. There's Russell with Home Gauge. The fellas at Spectora doing fantastic things, but they've only concentrated on the home inspection buyer or seller. I have the full like pool barrier fencing, accessibility for disabled into commercial buildings. I'm a building surveyor. I look at fire protection, auditing of body corporates, forward planning for maintenance. I have all those other templates. Use your software for what you're comfortable with, but you can use Dome to load those documents up. That's all I say. It's a tool.
Awesome. Is there a list on your website, or if not, could you make one of all? What I found is, I love all the stuff you're saying, but like a list of all the different things we could do, like the the rental, property management, all
the templates are there, Preston. 26 of them listed there on the web page, and we have how-to videos on how to set up Dome. So the important thing I want to tell people, just have a go at it. You get a free go at it. If you like it, keep with it. If you don't, well, stay comfortable. But this is the way it's going, and in my belief. So there's 26 templates. Yeah, they're templates derived from actual inspections that I've had to do.
Awesome. Well, let's say like I'm using Spector or HomeGauge, and I really like that for the my bread and butter right now, which is residential buying. But can I still use that for that, but use HomeGauge for the rental or the swimming pool stuff or all the other other applications? Is that
most certainly can, Preston? And why I mentioned all those fellas, right? All those vendors. I'm not precious. That you've got a whole bunch of tools. Take the best out of everywhere you want to go. I'm raising their names because I'm hoping that they'll follow my lead, and introducing their software packages a redacting feature so that inspectors can upload their report. Like we developed that, we're probably the trailblazers and game changers in that area. It sets me aside from all the others, but that's fine. That's how we evolve. So if they could produce a redacting feature, then they can load it on Dome and not spread out private information. That's all I'm saying is where all us vendors can all work together. I think we should.
Yeah, and one thing that let me give you a kind of analogy of how well the Dome interacts with the other softwares. So say for example you're using say Spector or even HomeGauge. You're using that for your report software. Let's just take for example you're doing a fourplex that's a rental, and you're doing it for an investor, and you have a staircase on the outside, and you're using to report on the features as far as the property, just like all the other softwares do. You're talking about the rooms, the bathroom, the electricity, plumbing, HVAC, roofing, foundation. You do that. Let's just say just for coverage, you want to talk because they have a group parking, and parking, you have to have so many parking spots per rental unit. Dealing with building codes. What you can do with Dome is upload your own personal PDF that talks about the egressable stairways. You could talk about the fire exits and all those fire codes that are being done. You can upload those, put those in as fillable forms, attach it all to one document, put that into the Dome, and now not only that investor has a accurate report in the software or the format that you have, but now you have the other supporting documents too, that now you can also send it to insurance companies, to your property managers, as far as maintenance, and you can have that. And now you can also start to expand your business because now you have that complete picture of a property, and now they're going to call you back because now you have all that information, and now you're going to be that neutral third party. Every time they do an audit, you can turn around and say, I have all that information, and you can start to build that. And just like some other softwares that you can do, I'll just say like HomeBinder and a couple other softwares where you start to collect that property information, that will stay in the Dome for life because once again, it's on the Google platform and it will stay there forever. Nobody else can look at it but you. Everybody who needs to know that information will now come back to that inspector, because now you hold all that information and nobody can see it.
And if I may, Pat, sorry to interrupt you, but in regards to that, I've got the property manager that they might do their report on the app. They'll send it through for technical advice. So you become the hub. They can share that report between the users of Homeworthy, because we're all networked. Excuse me. But also, Pat was mentioning about the other software report. You can upload that to our scheduling, our booking, and you can mark up that PDF. It's a PDF. We work with PDFs, so you can have a full-blown report from someone and do that follow-up re-inspection and mark it up and compare photos before and after. That's what the real estate and property managers like, is that they're recording. They've got the full history of that property, going back to when the tenant started. We can prove they did the damage. Let's fix that before the next tenant comes in. So we're not degrading the investment. We're making the person who created the damage pay for it on the way through. And the inspector becomes that hub, that skilled hub, that real estate agent, property managers. You're connecting with the preferred building contractor list to farm it out. They can get get a redacted copy. The carpet layer, the painter, the glazier, all those trades, the plumber, the electrician. And what we do is record on there the new serial number of the new hot water system, so it's on record. So in the scheme of things, without interfering with the person who's living there.
So let me, the first time I heard this, it kind of blew my mind. I was trying to wrap my mind around everything. I'm going to give you kind of a metaphor of what, and tell me if I'm off completely or if this is a good metaphor too, actually. It starts off with what Pat said. We tie everything to the property address, first of all. It's like, all right, so if you think of the property address as, you know how we all have like medical, a medical record or file that goes no matter which doctor we go to, when we go to college, when we go to whatever, they've got a file of everything about us from, birth till, we're, not doing so well. So I'm thinking of it kind of as a medical file for the house. Another metaphor might be, this is probably not a good one. I read a lot of crime novels, but they have a murder book. Whenever there's a murder book, all the investigation, everything everybody does goes into that murder book, and then they come back to, to try to solve. So I hate to use murder book, but or a medical history on that. So would that be a good kind of analogy? Good. Medical
yes.
file for the house that goes.
Can I add there, Preston, if I may? I had an example that's happened. A previous fire in the ceiling. It's been put out. It's been assessed structurally as adequate. The engineer has recorded that. Why should then every following inspector, home inspector, say, oh, there's been a fire, there's been charring of the timbers, it's not sort, right? He can go into that previous, that's been addressed 4 years ago with a structural engineer and it says it's okay, it's structurally adequate, it's just charred.
Right.
So nothing to see here, let's move on.
So it's not a problem the way it is now, it's a problem every time.
Yeah, it's a problem every time someone else.
Get a new engineer every single time they sell the house.
That's right. And it just puts fear in that buyer or the seller or the property manager or the reinsurance. You can say, okay, I'm going to reinsure. Here's a copy of what the previous thing, if it's mentioned that there's been a previous fire, it's been repaired, nothing to see here, let's move on.
Okay, 2 questions. I'm going to do a double question here. The first one, just clarify, I think I'm right on this for everybody who's listening. Redacted, I think, means taking all the personal information off of a report. And, well, let me get it all out, and then I'll just leave it. If is that something that's done automatically, or do you have to do it manually? And if it is automatically, obviously you can do it with HomeWorthy and that sort of thing. Can it also do it with the other software? So I'm really interested in that. And then my second question is, after the redacted part, who has access to the dome? And who and all is the dome for? Who gets to look at it? So the redacted question first, and then access, I guess.
Okay, that's great. The redacted feature is automatic within our system. We can set up the fields. If you're familiar with Adobe Acrobat, you're working with fields in the PDF forms. We've worked with those for 20 odd years. So in the system, you can set up those fields to redact. So you can go through and set that. So anytime you produce that fillable form in on Dome, that will redact a copy if you set it up there, because we have little mechanisms in place. The app, when I'm doing it on the iPad and generate it from site, it's already back to the dashboard in two formats. One's a redacted copy and one's a full copy. You need that full copy for your client, but the redacted is automatically done because we've selected those fields to take the name of and address and everything out of the client's details, so that we have a second copy sitting there so that we have to use it publicly. So there's public and private documents in Dome, and the user can set that up themselves, and it's all comfortable. To your second question is who uses Dome, then obviously you're the hub, you're the inspector doing work for the real estate agent property manager. So that they will ask you, well, what's generally the condition? We need some repairs. Shoot that redacted copy off to another HomeWorthy user, which is a building contractor, and they will give a written quote straight away back into the system. The real estate agent can ask the seller, if you like. They collect the information that they can. In time, that property logbook, that's what I call it, a logbook. It'll collect all that information that stays with the property. So whenever, you might have a significant foundation issue, or you might have a blocked sewer. Well, we've got the drainage plan there so that it's quick and easy to know exactly where it's probably going to be blocked at a branch line or a junction. We may be investigating foundation movement with significant cracking. And reporting on that and seeking more specialist advice. We can forward that on without releasing private information. The engineer doesn't really need to know who the client is. And what I'm doing is insulating the home inspector's business so that he becomes the hub. I think that's essential in the whole process, is don't undersell your service. You have skills, you have a skill set that everyone needs and uses. Become the hub.
All right, Bob, let's say I'm a home inspector and I'm listening or watching this and I'm pretty interested in it. Do you have any, but I don't know how to use it. I mean, I kind of got an idea. Is there training or any videos, or do you offer any tutelage, or is it, how would I learn how to use this system?
Good question. Spent many thousands of dollars on how-to videos.
Okay.
And every process on how to set up. The misconception with my product, I guess, is people just assume it's a reporting app, so I'll just download it from the Google or iTunes. But what you physically have to do is go into my webpage, homeworthyinspections.com, go in and register with your dashboard. Have a free go, but set up your profile, because we have features in there that you customize everything you do, and you can load up your own PDFs, your forms, your whole process. If you've got standard letters that have fields in them, set them up. So there's a how-to video on every feature that we've got. So just take your time, watch the videos, set up your own dashboard, and away you go. It's fairly intuitive.
Well, I hate to ask this, but I'd be remiss if I didn't. What's the bottom line? What's, because listeners are going to say, oh, it sounds great, Bob. I'm interested. How much does it cost?
Yeah, okay. After your free trial of 30 days unlimited use of Dome and 5 free reports just to try on your iPad or Android tablet. After that, you can select a subscription model. And if I was to give you the example of the upper end, it's $250 a month. Now, what that does, it gives you unlimited use of Dome. So if you're doing 200, let's say 250 properties per month, that works out $1 per month. And I cover the cloud storage of all documents. In addition to that, is you get a 50% discount on the report packs because the app is a standalone product as well. So bottom line, $4 Australian, I might say, and the exchange rate is killing me. So $4 to have an inspection and a property set up.
So let me get this straight. Is there unlimited cloud storage? Did I hear you say that? Or
unlimited cloud storage. Okay. That's included in your price. So you just plug and play and I'm not interested in it's a tool. So every time you pick that drill up from the carryall, you're just using it. You'll use the electricity and put it back down. It's there. It's no weight to carry. It's on your iPad or tablet. I've been asked, I'm in the car, I've got a quick re-inspection to do because I've repaired the rental. And this is where your value add. Go and do those $50, $60 re-inspections for your client. If he's got 500 rentals and he's doing it 4 times a year, that's more than any pre-purchase that you could ever do.
Right. No, I like it. So let me ask you this: is there a more chart? Like if you got a multi-inspector firm, or is that all one? Or is that per inspector, or how does that?
No. That's you can add as many inspectors as you like to your Dome because that's what you do. Is you load up your PDF references, put your standards of practice from Archie or Archie up there as PDFs, mark them up within your report. All your references, your codes, your installation manuals for external decking. So you've got some PDF images, put them in with your photo. I nearly lost my track of mind, but train of mind.
I love the way you talk, man. I wish I could talk. I'd pick up so many women if I could talk like you.
Well, I've enjoyed the chat. As I say, it's very easy for a re-inspection. You know, you just load up, attach that set of plans and your previous report to the inspection, and you've got a PDF running. The thing with the multi-inspector firms is they might have 50 to 100 inspectors. They've all got their own login on their iPad, but the minute they generate something, it's back at the back office on the dashboard for the boss.
Right.
To know exactly what time and date he did. I have a management function in there. If he leaves the employee, you just deactivate him. He can't get back in, and you haven't lost anything.
Okay, cool. Another follow-up question. Does it have to be an iPad? Can it be an Android? And let's just say I got into this and I just didn't have time to follow up. Am I going to have to pay you for a year or 2 years, or can you? Is there risk involved if it's not for me? I guess that sort of thing.
No. You get your first free trial, but if you let it sit there and you're only using the reporting generator, then you've bought a pack and it just sits there.
I mean,
until you just pop it up. But
a year contract?
No, there's no contracts. I'm not interested in that. Just use as you go. It's a tool. Just pick it up and use it when you need it.
I like it. Did you say you could use Android too, or?
Yes, it's Google Play. I really love my Galaxy Tab A, little 4G. It's 8-inch screen. Just run around the site with it. Your iPad, it's iOS compatible. It's on the App Store, but please set up your dashboard before you even download your app, because you need to set up your inspector profile first, so that then you can download the app and then get started.
Awesome. Another question. Do you have or in the plans to have like a forum or a group? And I've noticed this is sort of, and maybe it's organic. I've seen it with a lot of other things where a group will form for the users to help each other out, and sometimes come up with really creative ideas that even, or shortcuts or whatever. Do you have anything like that or anything like that in the plans?
Preston, it's probably the best kept secret of the Homeworthy users. We have a tender feature, whereas if the seller, you've done your work for the seller, you inquire, where you're moving to, son, I'm moving interstate. Within the Homeworthy network, every Homeworthy user can freely refer jobs and communicate, and we're improving those chat lines, so you become your own ecosystem, and you're supporting your other Homeworthy clients. And I'm not interested, I'm not monetizing that. It's just to give that added service for your client. The seller becomes the buyer. Where you're moving to? Oh, I know an inspector down there. Or if it's a multi-inspector firm right across the country, you can set up your own call center. Think about this. The call center could be set up for $250 to use Dome. And every other inspector can have their own Dome as well, but get referred work by postcode.
I just thought of another good metaphor, maybe for Dome. Maybe I'm way off on this, but I just thought about it. You know how like a car, people who maintain a car very well, the glove box has all the records of the car, the manual, when the oil was changed, all the, if you're like me, you got all the past. If I ever get pulled, it's like, where's your registration? I'm like, oh, that was last year's. Because I keep them all in there. But that's a good idea.
Preston, there's two things I've said is Homeworthy is like a roadworthy for your home.
Right.
That's what I've said since 1992. I trademarked that, actually, invented the word in a font. The second thing is it is a property logbook. So that moves with the property, not with the owner.
Right. I've always said with real estate agents and buyers, I said, you get a homeowner's manual for your car, you might get a homeowner's manual for your microwave, your oven, your refrigerator, but there's not really a homeowner's manual for the house. And there should be, and they don't know where the GFC, you have to show them, but if they remember it, where's the water cutoff? Where's the GFC? When this thing trips, where's the reset? There really should be a homeowner's manual for the house in general, not just, you get manuals for specific components, but not and that might be what this is, sort of. Yes.
Well, that's basically what it is, Preston. You've nailed it right there.
Yeah, I like it.
It's the property log. Yeah, go, Pat.
I'm sorry. I said that's exactly the point as far as, let me kind of explain this. And this is a way that you can definitely generate more revenue as a home inspection company. Let's just say, for example, you have the Dome and you upload all the data. You put your inspection report, all your supporting data, any codes, any type of warranties, anything else that you have on that property. And you can send that to your client. Now, what you can do is just offer the client to set them up as a free user onto the Dome. So now they can see all the information that you have, because everybody knows when you're buying a home, it's like drinking from a fire hose. It's just so much information all at one time. But now they can turn around, and once the calming process is happening, they're in the home, now they can turn around and look up their property address and see all the information that home inspector had. So now all of a sudden you can turn around and you can also, as the homeowner, refer back to your inspector as far as any information. And also it can go back and forth. So now they can see it. Now, if you get the real estate agent in on the Dome as well, they can put all their information on it. So now when it's time to sell that home, you have three parties of information that you can have on that property, which makes it easier to sell. Any improvements that the homeowner has, if they update the kitchen, put in new furnishings, put in a new water heater, they can also add that in as a free user. And now you can turn around and give that back to the real estate agent when you're ready to sell. If you want to get cost estimates, you can send that out. And also, when that client is done and they sell that house, you can send that off to another inspector and say, hey, I have an inspector over where you're about to buy. He uses the same system. Would you like to use it? And you can send that directly online through the Dome to another inspector. So once again, we're creating, like somebody else, hey, Dave, our own ecosystem to protect our industry and also improve the benefit of that homeowner. So it's a complete self-enclosed system that protects the client's information, but it leaves it readily available from everybody who needs it, and you can transfer and send that information back and forth to each other. So it's something next level.
I really like it. I like the idea of diversifying, and I think all of us home inspectors need to diversify our business now. I'm sure Blockbuster wished they would have diversified when they had the opportunity. By the way, for all the home inspectors out there listening, did you know that Kodak invented digital photography? They invented it. Somebody within their company, they brought it to them and they poo-pooed it because they said, you know what, we're a chemical company. We're not interested in that. Blah, blah, blah. And you saw it eventually put them out of business. They declared bankruptcy. I guess what I'm saying, I'm not trying to be a fear monger, but now's the time to diversify. Not when, we're being forced, by technology companies to, hey, you know what? I think you should do an inspection for $150 because this other guy will do it on my form. That was where we could be headed if we don't take control now. And I see this as a tool that could do it and diversify and put yourself in control. I mean, we're the creators of this information that is so valuable. Why should we let somebody else, control us when we are the creators of it? That's just my feeling about it. But a couple more questions, and then I've got some just general home inspection fun questions I want to ask because I have to of every guest. But now, when you say different people can access it, how do they access? Is it like you send them a link, or is there a password and username, or how do like if you're doing work with a property manager or an electrician that needs to go out there and you need him to see this report or that, is it a link for that specific report, kind of like Dropbox? How does that work?
Just a simple email. It's a PDF document. Each user has their own login. So think of it this way. Dome is the filing cabinet.
Right.
Then you've got 3 drawers. It might be the property manager's file, file within that property.
Right.
It might be the pre-purchase fellow or the home inspector or the building consultant. It might be the contractor. Interesting is within those drawers then, you have all the documents, don't you?
Right.
So that's the analogy. So between those drawers, each user can swap it over, request services. You can do your own little engagement there. You can get it repaired. Then the property manager will ask the inspector to go back and re-inspect because it has an insurance implication, all those sorts of things, So we all work together within that. So it's just transferred electronically with permissions.
Yeah, yeah. I know we kind of brushed over it, and I don't know if we clearly articulated it. When somebody goes on a Dome and they see that a file, they can't just see that file. That information stays with you. I don't know if we kind of talked about it. I know we kind of glossed over it, and I know I want to come back to it. When you have an account and you look up a property on Dome, you will see that there's another file created by another entity, and that is connected to that property. So if say for example, you're coming in for you're working and you're going to do a report on that same fourplex. We'll just keep that analogy. And you saw that the property manager already had his logs and his maintenance schedules on there. I'll be able to look at that property and see that there's files that are already created by that property manager. So now I can call that property manager and say, hey, can you send me over the maintenance schedules for the HVAC systems? And now he can give me permission to look at that. And now I can incorporate that information when I do my final walkthrough with the client, and I can put in that report. Now, the client will be able to see that the home inspector had made inspection reports on it, and that the property manager had logbooks on it. So now he can call those companies, and that's what makes Dome so unique and special, is because now you know who had their hands on the basketball. So now that's what's going to make it more likely that that new home buyer, that real estate agent is going to go right back to that property inspector and say, hey, you looked at all this information before, you have all this information on the property, what's it going to take for you to come back out here and do this reinspection and have it, and produce a report for my new client on that property? So your name is forever anchored to that property in the Dome, which again, that starts to build another source of revenue for all the new inspectors to be attached to that property. So the more people that use Dome, it's like the fax machine. One person uses it, you got a factor of 1. 2 people use it, now you got a factor of 3. And it just grows exponentially throughout as this property starts to build. More people get onto the Dome, it becomes more valuable. More information goes into the Dome, it becomes more valuable. And from now into whatever, your name is going to be permanently attached, or your business is going to be permanently attached to that property, because they'll be able to see that file in the Dome.
Like it. I like it. So if I'm listening out here, I'm a listener, I'm driving, I'm listening, I'm watching it, I'm really interested. Where can I go to download and I got like 2 or 3 more fun questions after this, but with the Dome and your software, where do I go? What's the website? Can I download the trial there? And also, Pat, you obviously use the system. Can they, get in contact with you, ask you about it, pick your brain, and Bob? But you got to be careful with Bob's time, because he's in Australia and he might be asleep when you're awake, sort of thing. So, I guess where do we find you? If I'm interested, if a listener's interested, what is your internet real estate, so to speak, to where you can be found?
Okay.
Well, let Pat answer that. I'll let Pat answer that. He can go for it, Pat.
So right now, if you go on to homeworthyinspections.com, you'll be able to look at all the video information. But if you're here in the U.S., right now, I'm building some extra pages on my website. So if you go to tallgrasshomeinspectors.com and you click the drop load and you go Gateway to the Dome, you'll click on to the Homeworthy pages that I have set up. So that way you can get a brief explanatory of how the Dome works and where you can go into. Now, just for disclaimers, because I try to be above water on anything you do. You sign up to Dome, I will get some financial contributions from it. I'm doing sales, okay? Really? So I just want everybody to know that I like it. I believe in the property, but my family got to eat too. But
I don't mind people making money. I just like it when they tell me they're making money.
Yeah, well, I'll be making money on this. But you go down there and you click on it. If you click on it from that site, you'll be able to go into the Dome and you can sign up as a registered user. And then if you're interested, you can go on to either the Apple Store or the Google Play and download the app. If you just want to use just the platform, the Dome platform, you'll sign up from that link on my site onto the Dome, and then you can just put your information and you can start using it from there. So, it's either way.
Awesome. And can they ask you questions from there too, or is there like a ticket or something if they?
We have a ticketing and support feedback on the web page. We affiliate ourselves, obviously, with Tallgrass Home Inspectors, one of the best home inspector firms in the country.
Nah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, I got two fun questions, but and then we'll call it. I know we're a little over an hour here, and my attention span, I squirrel. I got ADD.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it really has. It's been very enlightening. But I want to say something too, kind of to what Pat said. I'm working on something, as you guys know, too, inspectedhouses.com, shameless plug. But it's also to diversify the income. And yes, I am making a little bit of money on that for sure, but that's not the primary motive. The primary motive, first and foremost, was I saw trouble with my own business, or where I use the analogy, the Titanic just hit an iceberg and we're taking on water and some of us don't even know it yet. So, what can I do to make sure we've got a lifeboat to get out of that? And I think this is a lifeboat right here. Well, I don't know if that's the best analogy, but it is. It can save our profession.
It's true.
We're working on something, inspectedhouses.com. And the thought behind that is to create our own leads and not be dependent on real estate agents as well. And honestly, I think these things can work together. And it's great. All right. Well, two fun questions.
No. Before we go, I gotta give you some credit because I think you're underselling yourself right here. What you've done with that website that we've seen so far is phenomenal. It was very much needed. There's a lot of people come out there. For those who don't know, the whole thing with pre-listing inspections or pre-inspection, checking the house before it goes onto the market was an underutilized tool. And now, since all these disruptors coming, Preston and Dave Kloma has produced something that is next level. And I highly encourage anybody that is listening to this podcast, go on there, do the free demo, click down, and let them walk you through. And it'll show you how you can not only make yourself more viable to not only the real estate agents as in your unit, but also is going to improve the sellability of those homes. We need to diversify, and the fact is that y'all took the initiative and created that website is something phenomenal. There's a lot of people that has gained interest about that, and for those, y'all need to really seriously take a look as far as inspectedhouses.com, how it is working, and how it's going to improve your business model, because y'all need to diversify. The sky is falling. I don't have no qualms about letting people know how serious it is. I'm not worried about being an alarmist. This is something very seriously, because once you turn around, you start seeing $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and your bottom line revenue disappear, you need to start worrying, and this thing is happening. So you need to go ahead and just take the time, take the weekend, grab yourself a beer, get in front of the computer, and actually see how these models are working. Because if you don't, you're doing yourself and your business a disservice. And I just want to say that.
Well, thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. All right, two fun questions, guys, and then we'll call it a wrap, because I know you guys got stuff to do. The first one is, what is the wildest, weirdest, or craziest thing, and remember, I told iTunes it's a G-rated show, that you've ever found on a home inspection? And Bob, I'll start with you. What's the craziest, weirdest, or wildest thing?
Two rock wheelers coming around the corner when I can't get anywhere, and just a folder in my hand and a torch, and skipped up on the roof and had them guarding me until the owner got home. That's the weirdest thing that probably comes to mind straight up. Apart from snakes in roof spaces and such, yeah. I
will have to say this, Bob. You made me think about it. You remember the guy, and rest in peace. The guy, what was the crocodile guy? I know he died.
Yes, Steve.
That was unfortunate. But I was watching a show. It was like an old one that he did, and I can't remember, but it was like the 10 deadliest snakes, and 8 of the 10 deadliest snakes were in Australia. And I was like, and one of them was up under a house, and I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't have to inspect houses in Australia.
We learn at a very early age not to touch anything.
Good. I don't like the creepy crawlers. All right, Pat, same question to you. Craziest, weirdest thing.
I still have to go with my raccoon incident. That's the one that just had me standing on end. If you haven't heard it, up on the roof, had the chimney, looked down at the chimney, and there was a raccoon looking right back up at me, kind of hiding from the inspector. So I went with the flashlight, looked down, and all of a sudden I see this raccoon hanging on the sides of the flue, looking up at me, and we both had the same. Like you said, it's a PG show, but I swear he had the same look on his face that I had, so I just let him have that day and have that chimney.
I always say, too, like with critters, that they're more afraid of you than you are them. I think that's a lie. All right, last question, and then we'll leave contact info one more time for anybody who didn't get it. If you had to start over in a brand new market, equal to where you are now, you had everything was paid for as far as your room and board and all that, and you had $5,000 to start over in a brand new market, knowing with your knowledge and knowing the knowledge of kind of the future, what would you do if you woke up in a brand new market? I'll start with you, Pat, since I started with Bob last time. You have $5,000. What are you doing?
I'll tell you what, last time I talked about like doing the research, the due diligent research on the network. Today I have the caveat with that. I would get these products, like it says, as far as introducing yourself as a value, I would be on inspectedhouses.com, and I'm not saying this just as a plug, but I would have that, and I would have the dome, and then I would start be hitting those the real estate agents and also the building networks, and let them know that now that you're in town, that you can actually start servicing them and also reducing their liability. That would be the greatest change now since the last time that we had the podcast, because I think these two tools, if you work them together, the value of your inspection business is going to increase tenfold. You're not just the guy who's checking the houses or the gal that's just checking the houses. Now you are bringing something to the plate that's actually going to improve their business. And there's always been that analogy. If you want to be better in business, you better figure out how to serve more people. Well, with these two platforms, you use them together, and you go out there to all your building contractors, real estate agents, lawyers, property managers, and let them know that you can reduce their liability by keeping a logbook, and also to real estate agents that you can help them sell more property. You are definitely going to be hitting the ground running, and your schedule is going to be picking up relatively quickly.
Awesome. I like it. Bob, same question. You got $5,000. You wake up a brand new world. What are you doing to start to get your business going?
Exactly what Pat said. How can I top that, Preston? Yeah, because it's true, isn't it? You go out, you provide your services, and explain your services. The minute you've got the tools to do it, people follow you. So there's no necessity to spend unnecessary money or revenue. Just show what you can do. I've quite often, look, I'll come and do something for nothing just to show you what I do if you don't understand it. And some of those are my best clients from 10 years ago.
You know, I just thought about something about the dome, and I know we're right here at the end. You know, part of the problem among all the other stuff we talked about with the home inspection business, even before the disruption, is we're only as good as our last home inspection. In other words, we only make money when we're inspecting. We don't have any perennial or recurring income. We're only as good as that next inspection. I think the dome gives, with that the history tied to the property, you know, it's not just one inspection, it's multiple inspections and multiple things down the road. So, you know, it's like somebody who sells insurance, you know, they get recurring income off the same sale, where the problem is right now, we only get income once off the inspection and you're done. You have to keep hunting. You know, you have to go out and kill it every single day, and there's no recurring. So it does that. And what does that lead to? That leads to your value, your business being more valuable if you ever wanted to sell it. Because now, you know, I've had guys all the time want to sell me their business. And I'm like, hey, man, I love you, but, you know, you're a one-man operation. You know, you got a couple of realtors that use you, but it's all goodwill. I mean,
That's it.
sell yourself, you know, and there's really not any value there. I mean, there's a little bit, you know, but with the dome, I think your business would be very valuable to sell because there's a book of business down the road
Yeah.
that's coming.
Preston, if I may, just to give this analogy, in a life cycle of a property, it probably buys and sells about 3-4 times in its life cycle.
Right.
So if you get a rental property and you're doing 4 inspections a quarter, you know, once every quarter, and you got 500 of them doing it for a client, just a quick half-hour inspection to see how the tenant's going, any damage, you've now, every rental has exceeded the number of inspections. I can quadruple your inspection output by using these tools and this concept because it works. I've used it for 20 years. So your life cycle, you have the skill, as I said in the initial part of the podcast, we have the skill set to be able to value add. And the quote I use is diversify to insulate your business.
I like it. Well, cool, guys. It has been a pleasure. It's been fun. I'm sure all the listeners have got a lot of value. One more time, how can they find you guys? Download the demo, email you. You don't have to give out your phone number. Some guys have done that, and I'm like, oh, you sure you want to do that? But how can they, you know, get in touch with you, preferably email or something like that, and find out more about your product and possibly download the demo one more time?
Yep.
Oh, okay. If you go to tallgrasshomeinspectors.com, go to Gateway to Dome. You're going to find a link that you can sign up for your free account, and you can get all your information in there, and you can just start using it right away. If you're interested in all the supporting software, the actual HomeWorthy inspection app, you can go to the App Store or you can go to the Apple Store and you can download those. For the tutorials, you can go to homeworthyinspections.com and you can do all the tutorials. I'm going to start setting up more tutorials on there as we go through, but it's prom season, so I'm just trying to finish out with that. But also, and you can do that. But if you want to get the information, you can go to my site, go to Gateway to Dome. Once you do that, you can go on to homeworthyinspections.com, start getting the free tutorials, and you can start learning the process for that. The best way to find me, Facebook, just instant message me. That's usually the easiest way to get me, because if I'm inspecting, I can see that you called and I can reply, and we can always set up a talk time. Phones is a little bit harder because I'm in Kansas, so sometimes reception is not that great. It's not all flat in Kansas. That's why I can just let y'all know that. So.
And he's always having tornadoes up now. Just kidding.
I'm also available through the feedback and web services and all that sort of thing. We have a ticketing system and the support. Any ideas where for improvement or whatever, we're always entertaining. We're always fully developing and improving the system over the years. I just want to thank you for the time, Preston.
Thank you guys.
You know, it's just been tremendous. It's just an available tool that works. And
awesome.
No frills, just do the job with the tool and it'll work for you.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'm probably not using the right hand, am I? Pat, was it the other hand? Well, thank you. So there you go. That's a lot better. Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to hit the stop here.